Welcome to Teen Talk, Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior. I am Pei-I. I'm a parenting and teen challenging behavior specialist at Rainbow Parenting Practice. Over the last 30 years, I've worked with children, teenagers, and then families with various complex needs across different settings. But it is my personal story, being a troubled teenager, that led me to the creation of my innovative parenting method, Thriving Together Parenting Method. It can help you and your teen to have a more loving, respect-driven relationship and the happiness and harmony in your family home in 90 days. No matter what challenging behavior it is, how challenging it has been, and for however long your family has been in a difficult place. Many families came to me when they were in crisis or at breaking point. My TTP method is the secret to their transformative family lives. It can be yours too. I am thrilled for you to be here, and that possibly means you are a successful but stressed out parent who is managing a very demanding job but struggling to know what to do and how to help your troubled teen who is stuck in patterns of challenging behavior. You're fed up with trying everything, but nothing works. You're looking for solutions yesterday and are determined to do whatever it takes to help your teen and family thrive. At Teen Talk, Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior, I will share all the insights I've learned from working with families and their teenagers over the years. I will not hold back. Let's dive in. Okay, you introduce.
Hi, it's Belle and Pei here for Teen Talk by Rainbow Parenting. And it's my first time introducing the podcast, so I'm a bit rusty. I don't really know how to do it. But if you're new here, what we do is completely unscripted, and Pei will pull a card and either one of us will say to stop, and there'll be topics about just sort of emotions or feelings or different sorts of situations, and we'll talk about them from the perspective of teenagers and parents, and we'll come to a conclusion at the end of the episode, sort of giving advice and some tips.
Yeah, and I suppose just to add this thing is the topics we talk about is all related to teenage life. Their thinking, their thoughts, the things they're doing or not doing or want to do or not want to do. And as I have to give this disclaimer actually, Belle, because I always give this disclaimer. I'm going to give it now because I was always telling when I give help the parents to think about strategies or what we're saying on the social media platform, I always encourage the parents to think about their family context. It's really, really important because every family is different. Every family is unique. So when you are thinking about what we're talking about, or the families, I'm talking about audience. If the families is thinking, the parents are thinking about what we're talking about, they need to think about actually, does it apply to my family circumstances? Does it apply to my family context in terms of what they're talking about? And it might not, and it might. But I think Belle and I try to keep it really general so then it can be applicable for every single family. But anyway, Belle done a really good job introducing the show. I don't think I did any better myself, Belle, if I'm honest.
I tried, my first try.
It's okay, you'll get better. It's only our 18th episode, and it's always changing. We're different things, so it's okay. It's like you say, it's very relaxed. We just talk, so we don't need to worry about this. But the audience will like who? What's the word? Like who we are, because we want to be authentic selves. So, right. Do you want to pull the card or you want me to do the cards? You do it harder today. Do you know what? I'm just going to draw from a middle. Right. This one is interesting. Can you see?
Yeah.
It's called Sick of Change.
Right.
Ooh, sick of change.
My first thought of that is, I know that some people get moved a lot, move about a lot because of their parents' jobs or because of their situation. They get, I know that people find that hard. Just my initial thought.
Actually, my initial thoughts would be about, well, what was my initial thought? I'm so off today. Right. I think my initial thoughts would be about what sort of the changes are the teenagers or the parents are going through at this phase in their life. Because if you're thinking about, I mean, in family therapy, we talk about family life cycle very often. And that means, when there's a family, there's evolvement in terms of how family move forward. So say like two people get married, right? It's a one person from a different family, and then they get married. This is their starting of their family life cycle. So they're a married couple and they're thinking about, oh, we're gonna have a baby. So that when the baby comes, they move on to another cycle. It's the baby birth. And then baby 2 years old, or baby go to primary school. That's another family life cycle, or secondary school. So they're moving on to different stage. And if there's loss, bereavement, that, or changing jobs, moving houses, it all could be part of the family life cycle. So then, but now I'm thinking, if we're thinking about the family life cycle from the perspective of teenagers and then the parents, it could be quite challenging, but some people found it quite enjoyable actually. But for now, because my client groups, the people I work, the families I work with, I haven't found any families actually saying like, I actually enjoy being a teenager's parents. Just, but yeah, but when people who are enjoying parenting their teenagers, they won't come to me, would they?
No,
they experience some difficulty, so they want to know what to do.
But in general, I think people find it difficult. I mean, I'm speaking from a teenager's perspective, but I think, I don't know, from what I've heard from like my parents and their friends, and like from when I was younger, I just always would hear like the dread of it. But yeah, but that's why we want to make it more of an enjoyable experience.
Absolutely. Do you know what just came to my mind? I'm also thinking about the parents must be sick of change in terms of their teenagers constantly changing their thoughts and feelings. It's like yesterday, do you want to go to shop? Yes, I will want to go to shop with you. And so, right, the time, let's go to the shop. No, I don't want to go to the shop anymore. It could be as simple as that, but it's like constant change mindset, some changing their mind, change how they're feeling, all this thing. I think the parents might find that a bit struggle because there's no ability.
I definitely have and do that because I mean, 1 second when you're a teenager you feel like doing something, the next second you don't. So even with that, like going to the shops has literally happened last weekend to my dad.
But did you say I would go, but then you decided not to go?
Yeah, and I think he got quite frustrated because he didn't understand. But yeah, I think as a whole, like teenagers, your mind does change a lot, and how you feel changes a lot, and yeah.
And I think I suppose that it's to help teenagers and parents to understand it is okay to change your mind. It is okay to change, like, yeah, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it now. That is absolutely okay because feelings do change and our thoughts do change, which our behavior change, But the other thing I'm also thinking about the change in teenagers' life in terms of friendship group, that could change quite a lot. I wonder how they feel. I know you went through a period of time that you were struggling with your peer groups, but I don't know if that changed. Did you change quite a lot in terms of your peer groups? Did you feel
somewhat, definitely. I think more when I was like sort of pre-teenage, like 13, 12, maybe young 14. But yeah, I mean, friendship groups have changed and developed, I would say. Now, I mean, once I got past the age of being 14, 15, it was more just sort of they developed and changed and you meet new people and it sort of gradually happened. But I think when you're younger, it can happen more suddenly. And it did, I guess, subconsciously, it would have made me feel unsettled. And it did obviously make me feel unsettled, but my mum relatively knew about it and noticed. And I don't know, it's so different. It's so weird for me because I've stayed friends with the same few friends for a very long time. But the sort of exterior of those friends has changed a lot. And I've also made new friends that I've around my close friends that are those few friends now. So I don't know, it's just how sort of changes, but because how you feel and what you think, your perspective changes as you grow up for a teenager. So that can affect your friendships. Yes.
I think like as human being, we all struggle with change, no?
Yeah, but it depends on what the change is, I think.
So what would the change be more comfortable for people or teenagers or friends?
Well, exciting changes. I
Mm.
think I get quite excited about change, but
Mm-mm.
I guess even then, even with some, if it's a big enough change, you can get some unexpected feelings that come with that because you're not used to it.
Mm.
But I guess I don't know. It's not a straightforward thing because it can be such small changes and such big changes. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but yeah.
It's okay. I suppose I'm saying like change could be uncomfortable sometimes. And I was just
Yeah,
thinking,
definitely.
yeah, I was just thinking about, see, like in a secondary school, do you move from class to classes and then you will have different peers in the class, or it's always the same?
Yes, you have different classes and you have different sort of sets for more in S6 is just your different classes. But
Mm-mm.
when you're younger, it's more like you have a lot of different subjects and you'll have a lot of different classes. But as you get older, it's more like the same two or three, but you kind of know your whole year group anyway. But when you're younger, yeah, that's like a big thing.
Yeah, so then I'm thinking like if you enter secondary school and then you're moving classes from classes, go into different, meeting different people, and then go to the second year, then you're moving classes. That's actually quite a lot of change within, in this period of time for
Mm-hmm.
teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Taiwan, it's really easy. We just stay in the same class.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed yet. So it's like,
All throughout high school.
yeah, you probably would. Yeah, maybe like the first year and second year will change, but what will happen is you will stay in the same class all the time. So there'll be
Mm-hmm.
like 52 of us. But then what happened is we will have our allocated seat throughout the whole term. That will be your
Mm-hmm.
seat and desk. So what changes, the teachers comes in to teach. So
Mm-hmm.
this period could be Chinese literature.
Mm-hmm.
The next period is English. So it's
Mm-hmm.
teachers comes in to teach, and we just stay in the class. We don't need to move
I'd
anywhere.
hate that because it kind of helped you when we'd have some subjects you didn't like, some subjects you did like, some classes you didn't like, and the process of actually getting up and leaving that environment and going to a different class was good, and also it meant you could sort of talk to your friends between lessons and stuff.
Mm-mm.
But so I don't think I'd enjoy that, and also you just be sat down all day. It's been awful.
I know, but I think
Couldn't
when
have
you
done
have
that.
break time, you get used to it. Just different
Yeah,
system.
that's true. Yeah, you would
Mm-mm.
get used to it.
I feel like it's even more tiring for the teenagers here. Like the bell run, and then you just have to move on to the next class. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, actually, sometimes if it's a class that was important or
Yeah,
that you were enjoying, it was annoying because you had to
yeah,
pack up.
exactly.
Yeah,
And then carry everything that goes to the next class. It's like, oh,
yeah,
much hassle.
yeah.
Mhm. This reminds me of like I was just thinking about the teenagers' experience of their parents.
Mm-hmm.
What if it was their parents that were constantly changing in
Mm-hmm.
terms of their expectation, the boundaries, the rules, like, yeah, you can go with your pal, and then the next day, you're grounded forever. So
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how teenagers will experience that. Have you ever had experience of that with any of your friends?
What changing in behavior from parents?
Yeah, just like
Yeah,
very little consistency, very unpredictable. And of course, if we are thinking about, you know, parents with mental health struggles, parents with addiction challenges, it's
yeah,
really hard for them to stay consistent and
yeah,
predictable. But then there's on the other side, the parents who didn't struggle with any mental health difficulties or have any addiction struggles or any other struggles, they can still struggle to be consistent, and that could be from their previous, learning, the model by their parents. So that
yeah.
could be a challenge for parents too. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just thinking about from my perspective, how would the teenagers feel if there was no consistency or predictability for them?
Yeah, well, that is something I've experienced on a small scale for, not a consistent amount of time, and something I know friends or old friends that have experienced it more severely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can make you feel so. I think bottom line, it would make you feel unsafe because you don't have, I think, bottom line, to feel safe with someone and to trust someone, you need consistency, you need reliability, and you need to be able to depend on them to be consistent in their behavior, just naturally as human nature. So if someone is acting very unpredictably inconsistent and, is letting you tell them all this one time and being so trustworthy and acting like your best friend, and then, the next day acting out and shouting and grounding you. And that's not from my experience, I'm just getting as a whole. But I think it would just make you feel unsafe, and the more it happens, the more you'd sort of shut off from that parent. And it would also, as well as how it would affect your relationship with your parent, it would also give you a weird relationship with yourself, I think, because you're not learning how to process feelings while still staying consistent in your behavior. Like, you, day to day, as a consistent person, you can get angry, you can get upset, you can get really happy, but you're not out of control of those emotions. But when you're inconsistent, it's your whole body is controlled by that emotion, I think. So I think it can give you a complicated relationship with your own feelings and your own relationships with other people outside of your parents. I think inconsistency is quite dangerous, I think.
Yeah, it really is. I think you just hit the nail in the head. I speak English today. It's a bit about feeling unsafe when there's no predictability or consistency, which is so important for teenagers. And I think it's also important for the parents as well to have some consistency, in from their teenager to help them to feel empowered and inspired. Like, oh, actually, this actually works. And that's another topic. But while you're talking about feeling unsafe, I actually thought about the young people and children I used to work with, and they've been accommodated, whether in the residential services or being fostered or, in different care arrangement. And there was a lot of change for them, like in terms of, okay, this placement broke down, then they'll move to the next one, or this school didn't work out because they couldn't help them or manage their behavior, they move on to the next special school. So it's like constant change is really challenging and can be quite damaging. And like you said, relationship with yourself, you start to think, is it me? It's really easy to think, is it me, the teenager, I'm the problem, that nobody or no places or no school can contain me and help me, to work out my feelings or work out my struggles. So
that is something I've seen, small scale and big scale, is people, when their parents, first of all, are acting inconsistent, and they can sort of blame themselves because their parents obviously blame them, but they can't see outside of that, and they can think, okay, well, tomorrow I'll not do this, and then that won't happen, and they'll try and try and find a way of being in control of it when they, really they can't be in control of it. And with schools, or I don't know much about in terms of schools of inconsistency, but because it's not like I have any experience of, but I've witnessed and been friends with people who have struggled with school in general. Well, I have struggled with school, but severely, I mean, behavior wise. And I also think that when people have a teacher they really trust, because sometimes quite a lot of people who don't have a good parents, they can not latch on, but they can build that trust with the teacher maybe more intensely than someone who did have parents would. And sometimes, a teacher won't betray that trust, but it'll feel like they're betraying that trust, but really they're just doing their job. If they get annoyed at them, or if they shout at them in a less, education wise, or if they sort of have to tell someone something they've said I think that can feel inconsistent, and it can, if you're already having inconsistency at home, I think that can really affect your trust in people so much.
Absolutely, because you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshell. You don't know
Yeah.
which one are you gonna get. It's like, is it
Mhm.
a nice one, or is it gonna be or is it gonna just, or go AWOL? So it's really,
Yeah.
really difficult. So by the
Mhm.
sound of it, what we've been talking about, like consistency is really, really important for a teenager. And I mean, for any family too, not just a teenager, for parents too, like consistency, having that predictability really helps in terms
Mhm.
of feeling safe, in terms of, providing a nurturing environment to allow the teenagers to work through the feelings or difficulties they are going through. And if you are having to constantly change, you're constantly adjusting, and then the feelings can come in, and then while you're just settling into this new change and then another change and another change, another change. And like we say earlier, change can be difficult. It can be this uncomfortable, but it could be an exciting change. But it's about how the teenagers or the families are supported to navigate the change, really. So I think that's what I think that's summarized that quite well, would you say, Phil?
Yeah, you did. Yes.
So let's think about the curiosity we want to encourage the parents or the teenagers to think a bit more. What would you like to encourage them to be more curious about?
You start, because I need to think about this for a second.
Right. So I was thinking I think I would like to encourage the teenagers. Ah. I would like to encourage teenage children to, because I say again and again and again and again, yes, we understand your brain is developing, you're maturing, you haven't found the language, but I really think when you are struggling with the change, maybe be curious about how can I communicate this so people around me can understand that I am struggling with. And I think maybe be more curious about writing scripts for yourself, so because sometimes, people, how teenagers write diaries and journals, right? So you can maybe be curious about what sort of thing, say, like if this person, say if my mom and my dad being inconsistent or constantly changing, moving and all this, if this teacher, whatever, is constantly changing and you're struggling. So when you write it down, maybe you can be more curious about, okay, if this person was here, what would I want to say to her or him? Right. So you can write it down and be curious of what sort of things that come out. Then the next day, maybe think about, oh, very good script. Let me go and tell that person. So I really want to just them to be more curious about the ways they can communicate. And it doesn't have to be verbal. It could be a written words, it could be an email, it could be a text messages, but it's to explore that part. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so I think I'll do the parents then. And I would encourage parents, because although we didn't really talk about this much today, just sort of light level into consistency. So if you're being all close to your teenager and then one day you've had a hard day at work, so you're not really, they're talking to you about something and you don't have the energy for it, and if you're quite harsh, I think I would really think in those moments, although you might not mean anything by it and it isn't personal, I would focus on maybe kind of figuring out what even minor inconsistency can sort of do to your relationship with your teenager. And sort of just like kind of really try and understand that it's hard to understand from the other perspective. I don't know if that was very clear.
So
but
I think I get that,
Yeah.
I think what you want to say is you want
Yeah,
to
please tell me what I was trying to say.
I think you want to encourage the parents to be more curious about the impact of inconsistency
Yes.
on their teenage children and themselves too, and their relationship. So you want them to be thinking about this a bit more.
Yeah, in small and big ways. Yes.
Very good curiosities. So we hope you enjoyed today's episode. And please do subscribe. I have to say this every single time. So then please subscribe so that more families and parents can find our show more organically. And we will see you on the next episode.
See you next episode.
Bye. Thank you to everyone at home or on the go for listening. If you find this show helpful, please hit that follow or subscribe button. It does wonders for the show, so more people can find Teen Talk Navigating Teen Challenging Behavior organically. If you have any questions about anything we talk about, please drop me a line at pei@teentalkpod.com. That is PEI-I at teentalkpod.com. I read every email I get. Whether that's an episode idea, a guest recommendation, or just a simple note about how the show has impacted you. I'd love to hear from you. I am Pei-I, and I'll see you on the next episode.